The story that's shaking the entire continent tonight doesn't come out of Ottawa, Washington, or even New York. It comes straight from Alberta, and it's a story so explosive that if true, it could change the very map of North America as we know it. The whispers are growing louder, the headlines are catching fire, and the rumors are exploding. Did Donald Trump, the President of the United States, cut a secret deal with Premier Danielle Smith to bring Alberta closer to becoming the 51st state of America? Now, I know that sounds unbelievable at first. It sounds like something out of a political thriller novel or a late-night conspiracy forum. But let me tell you, everywhere you look, little pieces of this puzzle are falling into place, and together they paint a picture that Ottawa absolutely does not want Canadians to see. Let's start with what we know. Alberta has been restless for years, frustrated with Ottawa's policies, angry over pipelines being blocked, furious about federal energy regulations that seem to choke out Alberta's biggest industry. Premier Danielle Smith has been vocal, very vocal, about standing up to Ottawa, but in recent weeks her tone has shifted. Instead of just demanding fair treatment within Canada, some insiders say she's been meeting quietly with American officials, building back channels, and opening doors that Canadians never thought possible. And then there's Trump. Love him or hate him, the man knows how to seize an opportunity. He sees Alberta not just as an oil-rich region, but as a potential geopolitical prize. Think about it. Control of Alberta's energy could give the United States near-total dominance over North American oil reserves. For Trump, who's been hammering on energy independence and promising cheaper gas to Americans, Alberta is the golden ticket. So when the rumors broke that Trump and Smith held private talks that supposedly bypassed Ottawa and went straight to the top levels of Washington, the political world went into shock. Did the premier of a Canadian province really sit down with the U.S. president to discuss Alberta's future? And if she did, what exactly was on the table? Some insiders claim it wasn't just trade, not just pipelines, but something far bigger. They say a roadmap was quietly drafted, outlining how Alberta could one day, step by step, integrate into the United States system. Not overnight, of course, but gradually, starting with energy cooperation, then economic alignment, then maybe, just maybe, the discussion of statehood. Now pause for a second and imagine the fallout. Ottawa is already furious about Alberta's moves to exit the CPP, about its talk of greater autonomy. But if it turns out Danielle Smith is playing both sides, balancing Canadian unity on one hand while entertaining U.S. statehood on the other, then Mark Carney's government could be facing a national crisis unlike anything in Canadian history. Carney himself is keeping his words carefully measured. Publicly, he's dismissed the rumors as nonsense, saying Alberta is a proud part of Canada and will remain so. But behind closed doors, sources claim Ottawa is scrambling. Phone calls flying between cabinet members, intelligence services watching Smith's every move, and diplomats in Washington demanding answers. The panic is real, and the silence from Alberta's side only fuels the speculation. And that silence. That's what has people talking the most. Danielle Smith hasn't come out swinging to deny the rumors. She hasn't shut it down forcefully the way you'd expect if it were all false. Instead, she's issued vague statements about defending Alberta's interests and exploring all options. For her supporters, that's enough to fan the flames of excitement. For her critics, it's confirmation that something dangerous is brewing. Think about how ordinary Albertans are feeling right now. On one hand, they're tired of being treated as second class by Ottawa, tired of sending billions eastward while getting lectured about climate policies that crush their economy. On the other hand, the idea of joining the United States is massive, scary for some, thrilling for others. Imagine waking up one day and realizing you're no longer Canadian but American. Your currency changes, your healthcare changes, your military allegiance changes. It's a leap into the unknown. But for many in Alberta, that unknown might actually look better than the status quo. And let's not forget the timing. Trump is in the middle of trying to cement his legacy, battling critics and making bold moves that dominate headlines. Carney, meanwhile, is still relatively new as Prime Minister, still trying to unify a country that feels more divided every day. If ever there was a moment for Alberta to test the waters, to see how far they could push, this is it. And that's exactly what makes these rumors so dangerous. Because here's the thing. Once the idea of Alberta as America's 51st state is out in the open, you can't put it back in the box. Even if this supposed secret deal turns out to be just smoke and no fire, the damage is done. People are now openly debating whether Canada's unity is at risk, whether Alberta should stay or go, and whether Trump is quietly rewriting the playbook for North American politics. So where does this leave us? The evidence is murky. There's no signed document being waved in front of cameras, no official announcement from Washington or Edmonton. But politics isn't always about what's official. It's about momentum, perception, and belief. And right now, the perception is clear. Trump and Smith might be working together behind the scenes, and Ottawa is terrified of what that could mean. If Alberta really does take steps toward closer integration with the U.S., the ripple effects would be staggering. Saskatchewan could follow. British Columbia might feel the pull. Manitoba would be caught in the middle, and suddenly the western provinces could be in open rebellion against Ottawa, each one eyeing a future outside the Federation. That's why this story matters, and that's why you should pay attention to every word. Because whether or not the rumors are true, the very fact they exist shows how fragile Canada's unity has become and how willing Trump is to test the limits of what's possible. But there's another angle to this story that almost nobody is talking about yet, and it could be the most explosive part of all: the financial side. Think about it. Why would Alberta even entertain such a radical move unless there were massive promises made behind the scenes? And who else but Trump, the self-proclaimed dealmaker, would be the one to make those promises? Some financial insiders whisper that Alberta was offered preferential access to U.S. markets, new energy export guarantees, and even the possibility of billions in direct investment for infrastructure if the province shows willingness to cooperate beyond the boundaries of Canada. Imagine highways, pipelines, railways, all built with U.S. money but running through Alberta soil. If those deals exist, they wouldn't just boost Alberta's economy, they'd tie it directly to Washington in ways Ottawa could never untangle. And let's not overlook security. There are suggestions, unconfirmed but spreading quickly, that Trump's team floated the idea of integrating Alberta into U.S. defense planning. On paper, that might sound absurd, but remember, Alberta borders the U.S., shares airspace, and sits on a strategic corridor for energy supply. If America truly wanted to secure its energy future, wouldn't bringing Alberta into the fold, militarily, economically, and politically, be the ultimate safeguard? Now consider the optics. Trump standing at a podium in Washington hinting at new partners in energy independence. Danielle Smith carefully choosing her words back in Edmonton, saying Alberta must look beyond Ottawa to secure its future. And Mark Carney, caught in the middle, desperately trying to project confidence while his own caucus wonders whether the country is slipping away under his watch. And here's the kicker. Ordinary Canadians across the prairies are starting to ask the forbidden question. What if life really would be better as part of the U.S.? Lower taxes, cheaper gas, a bigger military presence? For some, the thought is horrifying. For others, it feels like an escape from Ottawa's endless interference. That's the debate that's starting to brew, not just in Alberta, but quietly in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, even in rural BC. So I'll leave you with this. If Alberta really is exploring the path to becoming America's 51st state, then we're standing at the edge of history. A deal like that wouldn't just reshape Alberta. It wouldn't just reshape Canada. It would reshape the entire world order, setting off political aftershocks that could last for generations. The question is, will Danielle Smith and Donald Trump actually take that leap, or is this all part of a high-stakes political bluff to force Ottawa's hand? That's the suspense hanging over every Canadian tonight, and until the truth comes out, the rumors will only grow louder. So buckle up, because if what people are saying turns out to be even halfway true, we're looking at the start of a chapter that could end with Alberta crossing a line no province has ever dared to cross before.